Good morning, and welcome to the 42nd Colorado CALLERLAB convention in Springfield, Missouri. Today is April 30th, and March 30th will work better. Today is March 30th, and this is the Dance Party Buildup session. I am Bob Riggs, and your panelists are Dottie Welch from Nova Scotia and Mike Olivieri from Denver area, North Glen, I guess, or whatever he goes by. The subject today is when you're doing dance parties, first of all, knowing what you're going to know before you go into one, and then what you would plan to do as you go through a dance party to take yourself from a group of people who have no experience with dancing. All they have is experience with life and the things they've encountered as they've grown up, and that may be from it may only be 7 or 8 year olds to senior citizens, so it may be the spectrum of what they know. So part of what we're going to talk about today is when you go into a group, you have to know a little bit about the group, and you have to know that what you think they know. And I'll use an example here. I call every summer for 40 Japanese students. It's 40 to 50 Japanese students who are 13 or 14-year-old kids who are here for a month to spend time with a ranch or farm family in the state of Colorado. It's put on by the Colorado State University Extension Service that puts this program on. So when I go into that event, what is my expectation about what they know? My expectation is that they don't know really what left and right are. Now, I do have one other piece of information which I didn't give you, is that they are part of a language club who are learning foreign languages. And they know the rudiments, in general, in 13, 14-year-olds, the rudiments of 10 to 20 languages. So there are certain terminology things and certain things that are easy for them to go. I use that example because if I know that and I know some of the characteristics, then I can begin teaching them I can begin introducing them to some set of terminology that allows them to have fun with our square dance activity. This particular group meets with maybe 4 or 5 chaperones that are English speaking, and the rest of them are all Japanese. So we spend time in a circle. We spend time understanding what a circle is, understanding what left and right is, and forward and back, and the terminology. If I know that as I'm starting that group, and that's probably the most challenging group you would ever have because you have a language barrier on top of the terminology and the formation barriers. As you move forward through that evening, you're starting out with simple things like left and right and forward and back. And you introduce them to a partner, and they're often the same gender or could be the opposite gender, doesn't matter. So the set of terminology that you're working through from the time you start until the time you end is a progression. And I take that example, and then I take another example. 100, and I mentioned this over the weekend, 130 20-something age kids, probably the oldest was in the mid-30s, highly energetic, 98% white Americans, English speakers, energetic, that you take that extreme. Okay, what do I know about them? I know that their attention span is only as long until the next person says something in their ear. I know something about them when I do this. So as you're working through each of these types of evenings, you have to have a program that's going to work for you and is going to build on one thing on top of another. And when I think about the build-up for a party dance or a build-up for any form of a dance, in our mainstream dances, we start with a knowledge level here, Or our plus dances, we start with a knowledge level at a very advanced place because we have an expectation that they're going to know something. At a party dance, you don't have that expectation. You have to figure out where that is to start with, and then start building on that. Do they understand, once they understand who their partner is, once they understand who their corner is, what do you have them do with them? You can have them do, simple arm turns. That takes a matter of a few seconds to teach them. Now, it took me a lot longer to teach the Japanese students than it did to teach the young adults. And whether I tend to use a lot of elbow turns in both of those environments because that's what they can do easily, and there's no inhibitions that are going to keep them apart. One of the things is, philosophically, from my perspective, is I don't want gender to get in the way of fun. I don't want to get in the social things that can get in between people. I want to sort of put those aside and let them have fun with each other, not through a set of terminology, but through a set of interactions. Any group of people can start right? Once you show them the Japanese kids, you got to show them what a right-hand star is, because right hand doesn't mean anything, star doesn't mean anything. But if you show them, and they're really, really good, if you show them once, and you give it a term, and you always use the same term, you got them, because they remember instantly. And that's what's really fascinating. I can show them a really complicated pattern dance one time, and they can dance it. The young adults, the same way. I can show them a pattern one time, and they'll dance it. It's the senior citizens that we have to do it 2 or 3 times for, knowing your crowd and how you're building up on it. So as we think about this, and you'll see in my handout, I start in a big circle. I did one of our big circle dances last night in the welcome dance. I did a dance to Cry of the Celts and I forgot to write down the name that Cal gave me. Cat's Meow was a Cry of the Celts. Anyway, it's a really simple dance, and one of the people in the circle says, "What's that good for?" And the comment back from Susan Morris was, "It's good to get people working together. It's good to get people knowing left and right. It's good to get people following directions and hearing words." And it's like right around 2 minutes in length. So it's really short. What did it do? It got all the people on the floor, and whether they joined in after we started or during it didn't matter, because they could do it. People say at party dances how hard it is to get people on the floor. Well, it's not hard if you put something on and people start doing it and they go, "Oh, I could do that," and then they join in, and you welcome them to join in. Now you got them on the floor. I have never, in 40 years, had difficulty getting people on the floor, unless they're under 5. Then it's an interesting challenge in a different way. But we won't go into that right now. But the key here is if you give them something visual that they can see that they can achieve and not be embarrassed, they will join you on the floor and they will participate. Now, do I stay with that kind of dancing all night? Absolutely not. I do some things that are, depending on the group, that are pretty complicated, and depending on the environment that I'm in. So I will build up from the circles with no partners and circling left and right and forward and back and clapping, to doing arm turns, to doing circles and stars, to doing some of the old choreography like go down the center and divide the ring type of thing. And I will do a variation on a lot of things, some of which are very contemporary recreational square dancing, and some of which come out of traditional square dancing. It depends a lot on it. I will also do things as I get to my 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 terms they're going to see all night. I will then start doing them in different formations. I will do them in Sicilian circles. I will do them in lines. I will do them in trios. And you get 3 people in a line facing 3 people in the line and say, as a group of 3, do-sa-do. They can do that. Square dancers struggle at it. They're going, how can 3 people do-sa-do? But non-dancers have no problem with that, especially if you tell them to link elbows. Middle person, hold out your elbows. Outside people, stick your arms through the elbows. Now, as a group of 3, do-sa-do all the way around. They even know how to do a do-sa-do once and a half. So recognizing that, it gives you ammunition. It gives you tools where you're using your basic set of terminology in a variety of forms. Anyway, we got started late, so I'm going to shut up and let one of these 2 dance. Who wants to go first? Mike? He just got nominated. Anyway, from North Bend, Colorado, Mike Olivieri.
When Bob asked me to be part of this panel with Dottie and I were exchanging emails, and I took it from the point of view of my dance party build-up starts from the moment I get the phone call saying, are you available? We'd like to do a party dance. And as most of you know, you'll get a phone call saying, we'd like to do a party dance. When? Saturday night. Okay? Doesn't matter that you've been booked for 4 years, but they want it that Saturday night. If you are available, I came up with a list of things that I go through for the dance party build-up on the handout. I look at it as the dance you plan, the dance you did, the dance you should have done, the thing they teach you in caller school, and it inevitably works out that way. Initial contact, you want to find out date, time and duration of dance, location, number of people, age range. They're going to be kids. Is there going to be alcohol? A lot of callers charge extra if there's going to be alcohol served on the dance party night. What type of event is it? Birthday, anniversary, wedding rehearsal? And is it going to be indoors or outdoors? And what type of floor? Is it going to be cement, wood? If it's a barn dance, is it going to be dirt or earth floor? That gets to be really interesting. Get the really fine dirt in your speakers and equipment and stuff that you dig out for the next year. So you want to make sure that you've got that taken care of. Is there going to be other entertainment there? Through experience, I found out that if you don't ask that question, you show up at the dance, they've got a DJ there that's doing things, that's their cousin or whatever, and you're actually the secondary entertainment. You're not the primary. So it gets to be real interesting to try to get people up on the floor when they don't know you, but they want to dance to their cousin or whoever that's there as the DJ. Do they have a budget or a fee, or is your price going to be way out of line with what they had in mind? So I always ask that question. If they say, yeah, we've got a budget of $350, hey, that works. City of Vail called me in Vail, Colorado, up in the ski country. Said we'd like to have a community dance, and we'd like to have you come up for the night. And I said, what do you normally pay your entertainers? And they said $1,200. And I said, that's perfect. I did not get the gig, but it was perfect, So, what type of equipment do you need to bring? Are they expecting you to bring a wireless microphone so they can walk around and make announcements or whatever? Are they expecting super huge sound system like the professional entertainers, with the stacks of PV speakers or whatever that, set up, that type of thing? Do you always get a written contract? Some of it is verbal, some of it is written. I try to get written contracts all the time. Just helps my wife track dates and things like that. And what's the format of the dance? Are they looking for squares, or are they looking for line dancing? Are they looking for a DJ? You got to be flexible on that. Is there a meal or potluck before the dance? Gives you time to set up. Any special requests for music or dance? The people may say, we really want to do Disney music, or we'd really like to have George Strait music. And is it going to be a Western theme, and are there going to be square dancers there for a demo? Do they expect you to bring dancers with you? That's the first part. After I get that information, then I start planning in my head. Okay, how am I going to start the dance? What type of music am I going to do? Am I going to do line dances, mixer dances, mostly squares? When you arrive at the location, what's the first thing you want to do? You want to find the organizer or the person that contacted you, introduce yourself, meet them, find out where you're going to set up, take a look at the floor, figure out what the crowd's going to be like. Watch the people as they come in. Make sure and ask, do the attendees, do the people coming in know what the theme is tonight? Do they know they're going to be dancing? Several dances that I've done, the person who booked me is all excited about it. We're really looking forward to this. Oh, by the way, we didn't tell anybody. This is going to be a surprise. And the ladies show up in formal dresses with high heels, and it's like, this isn't going to work, So find out if the people attending the dance knew it was going to be a Western night or expect to dance. Help determine where the best location is to set up. They may want you to set up over here, and you're looking at that going, no, that's not going to work. It'd be better over here. So try to make sure you get there early enough that you can change locations to set up. Obviously, put your equipment up, turn the music on, walk around the area. Make sure it can be heard all the way around. That's got good sound. Play background music as people arrive. Just helps get them listening to the music a little bit. And by all means, put your business cards or flyers out on the table so that the people can pick them up. You're advertising yourself at the same time. Again, watch the age of the people coming in. Is it all senior citizens? Is it young kids? Is it mixed couples with kids? Determine what you're going to have going on. Did you create a plan? Are you going to be able to stick with it? Or are you going to have to change it? And how do you start the dance? If it's young kids involved and families, I'll usually start it off with the chicken dance or birdie dance. Get everybody out there. Hokey pokey, some type of thing. If it's a group of singles, and again, guys or girls outnumber each other, I'll start it off with something like Sasha. How many people don't know what Sasha is? Sasha is a dance that can be done individually. You don't need a partner. All you need to do is find somebody to look at. It can be two guys, two girls, whatever, kids, grown-ups. Starts off with slap your knees, clap your hands, patty cake each time. You do that twice, then you hook right elbows, walk around. Then at the end of that, you scatter and find somebody else to do it with again. It's a good icebreaker. It gets people out on the floor. They find out they can dance and move around. Doesn't take a whole lot. Gets them going. Then they're on the floor for you. Are you going to start them off in circles? Get them into Sicilian circles. Or just start them off in squares, lines, or contras. It's kind of a decision you need to make on the fly. And what type of music? Are they looking for the traditional, bones, hoedown type music? Or are they looking for something more upbeat? Depends on the group. If it's a younger group, no breaks. Keep them on the floor. Because once you let them off the floor, they're not coming back. They'll find something else to do. If it's an older group, let them take a break, but a short break. Don't let them get too far away. Just have them go get a drink of water, let them get a glass of wine, take a sip, and get them back out there. Don't let them drink the whole glass. Okay? Give them something to go back for. Go ahead and start the dance. Once you found out who your organizer is, who the main person of the event is, you want to make sure you kind of keep an eye on them, because when you start your dance, if you do have trouble getting people on the floor, grab that person, coerce that person into coming out, everybody will follow him. Okay, Bob's got a great story about Chief Justice, I believe it was, that it's a good idea. So get them out there. You need to give them clear, precise instructions. Start them off easy. Don't worry about left and right. If you tell them to do left elbows and they hook right elbows, who cares? Tell them to hook right elbows, they hook left elbows. Who cares? As long as they turn an elbow and get around. They're having fun. Wind in their face. Make sure you encourage and compliment them. Tell them it's the best Monday night group you've had all week. course, it's the only Monday night group we've had all week, but they all cheer, and then they kind of think about it and go, wait a minute. But it's just a good thing to do. Once you form squares, do you have an even number of people, or do you have one extra couple that you need to get in somewhere? And can you adapt for that? Doing 5-couple dancing, or having them stand behind another couple and rotating in and out. You need to be able to build on that. Don't get too hung up on the details of the move. If we tell them, do-si-do is right shoulder back to back, left shoulder, and they hook elbows and walk around each other, they did it. They wound up in the same place. You want to start the party off easy, like Bob said, work into the harder calls, move them on up. Tell them, I usually save this stuff for the really special groups. This is a special group, we're going to try it. And they all cheer when they get the call down, So it's a fun thing to do.
Every one of his groups is special.
Every one of my groups is special, that is true. Just be willing to be able to change your program on the fly, because what you had planned, what you're doing, are going to be two different things. At the end of the dance, I usually get everybody in a great big circle. I've taught them right and left grand somewhere along the way. So I have them circle left, circle right, go into the center 4 steps with a great big yell, back right out, find whoever would be your corner, do an Allemande left, right and left grand, tell everybody good night and thank you as you go past them. And they all go around the circle, thank you, good night, that type of thing. When you get back to your partner, circle left, circle right, into the middle with a great big yell. Thank you all for letting us come out and be part of your event. Have a safe night. We'll hope to see you again soon. While you're packing up, put some music on and play it while you're getting things lined up. I usually put on like Casper Cha-Cha Slide, which you don't have to do anything. You just put the music on, they'll dance it. So it's just a fun thing to do at the end. If someone requests a certain piece of music, do you have it? And if not, I have sticky notes on my computer that if they request a piece of music and I don't have it, I write it down. Next time I will. I'll go out and get it. Make sure that I do have it. Like I said, have business cards available. I personally thank the coordinator, person in charge to book me before I leave. After I get my stuff put away, I always go back in. I know they're going to say no, but I always go back in and say, is there anything else I can help you with? Can I help carry stuff out? Things like that. They'll say no, we got it under control. But I at least go offer. And just that little extra makes a big difference. On the way home, if you're going home with a partner, someone that was there, critique the dance. What went well? What went wrong? What could I have done different? So that you can build up the next dance and have it go even better. One of the things that I picked up last year at the Beginner Dance Leader Seminar was, like I said earlier, if you tell them hook left elbows and walk around each other and they hook right elbows, who cares? And just by getting that in my head, that it doesn't matter if they do exactly what they tell you or what you tell them, as long as they do something and they're having fun, everybody wins. So you build the dance up and just keep them going.
All right. Dottie, you ready?
I am, but I think my polo shirt is better than this.
Your what?
I think mine is yours better than this.
Well, the only thing that I have that I haven't already said is a little bit of the progression between the intro stuff of doing the circles. Some of the choreography that you'll find on the back of my sheet is related to, I call them large circles, medium circles, small circles, and medium circles. What is a square? A square is a small circle with corners. You guys are a really not very good crowd here. I always get at least one laugh, even from non-dancers out. It's a circle with corners. You guys are just too strict. I'm going to have to work on you. I'm just kidding. The point I wanted to make here is that when you talk about small circles, and you think about when we dance in squares, and I do a lot of things where I firmly believe my participants never learned how to count, because I'll say make circles of 8 people. And sometimes it's perfect. There's 8 people in every circle. Sometimes, I've got a room full of 90 to 100 kids or adults, and I say circles of 8 people, and there's a group of 12 over here, and 8 over here, and 10 over here, and there's a group of 6 in the back. And I'm going, okay, do I worry about this? This is to Mike's point. When I'm in that beginning of the evening, I don't worry about it. I may encourage the group that has only 6 people. I say, can 2 of you go over and visit with those friends over there? I may do something like that to move people around. But I'm not terribly worried about it, because I'm going to do circular choreography initially. Things like circle left, circle right, arm turns, forward and back. Everybody star right, everybody star left. Face your partner, star right with your partner. Face your corner, star left with your corner. These are simple things that cause the square dance community. If you try to do this at a mainstream dance, it doesn't work. Do it at a party dance, it'll work. We have too many expectations in our community and in our regular recreation dance community. And being that I'm in both places, I see this. But as long as you're doing that. Now, I number. A lot of people say when they do parties, they do heads and sides. Because of this variable number, I always number the couples. The couple with their back to the music, hold up your hand. You're number 1. To their right is number 2. Stomp your feet. To their right is number 3. Clap your hands. Next over, number 4. You're always best. Oh, we got some 5s here. Jump up and down. I seldom end up with more than 5s. And I may move a 6 to a 5 to a 4 to make multiple 5s. Now, when you're working with 5, how can you work with 5 couples in a way that makes sense? Well, guess what? There's no difference between, in the choreography, a limited choreography set, there's no difference between saying odds and evens and heads and sides. So you number them and you say, okay, all the evens up to the middle and back, there's usually 2. Go forward again and circle to the left. Circle to the right, star right, whatever you want. Everybody find your corner. Turn your corner by the left. All the odds. There could be 3 or there could be 2. Everybody gets to dance. You can do the same pattern. I used to get hung up when I started doing the things like divide the ring. Number 1 couple go down the center and divide the ring. Well, who are they going to split? Who cares? They're going to go out the other side somewhere. And I sometimes say that. Go out the other side. Pick a spot. Separate from your partner. Go around the outside. And sometimes they go out different spots. Doesn't matter. Get back home. Turn your partner by the right elbow to the corner. Something like that. You can even work and you think about it, is you can have all the odds and evens work together. Now you can have number 1 lead out and face number 2 and circle. Number 1 pick up number 3 and circle 6. Number 1 pick up number 4 and circle 8. If there's 2 more, pick them up and circle everybody. It's amazing how much entertainment you can get out of the simple stuff. And it is about entertainment. It's not about learning. My philosophy, and I tell organizers this when they're trying to book me, is I would like your people to leave the evening with this delightful sense that they had a great time. And this puzzling little picture in their head of, I must have learned something in order to do that. That's sort of the perspective that I'd like them to have. I don't really need them to learn a figure. I need them to be able to do it for the length of the event. Now, if they say we'd like to do more of this, I will certainly add them saying, okay, can I add you to my mailing list? on when we offer classes in this part of town, and we'll let you know about when the things are. And then they're going to come to class, and class is a place to learn. A party dance is a place to have fun. I've had people come in and say, I want to use party dances as a means to recruit to the square dance activity. Let me tell you from a lot of experience that the percentage of people who want to go from party dance to recreational dances is very small. You never say no, but if that's your expectation, is that you're going to use this as a recruiting tool, I would highly suggest that you think about it more as an entertainment tool. It's a way of entertaining the people in our society in a different way. That's my philosophy. This is the end of March of 2015. I've done 5 party dances, including all the dancers that I've had a chance to entertain. I'm up over 2,000 people so far this year that I've entertained. I'm keeping track this year. In past years, I don't know what the numbers are because I don't have them. But I've already done a couple of dances, 4 party dances, over 100 people. And it's really, really fun to do that. So once you get them into the squares and you do, or your small circles, you have a chance to do a whole bunch of things choreographically. If you can create those odds and evens, and it works better when you can create them in squares, because then you have a little more ammunition that you can do. But there's an awful lot you can do in the small circles. I use, as I said earlier, if you do trios, if you do Sicilian circles. Sicilian circles, there's a session tomorrow on 2-couple dancing, is all about doing something we do in square dancing all the time. If you say, step in and face your corner, what are you doing in a recreational dance? You're doing 2-couple dancing. There's really no difference in that 2-couple dancing than dancing in a Sicilian circle that goes around the hall. Sicilian circles are really fun because there's 4 people. You can have them do all sorts of things because they know their partner. You can introduce them to their opposite. You can have the 4 people do things that are in that simple category. There's a transition in these dance parties that you should be aware of. Is soon as you ask to differentiate between the right-hand dancer and the left-hand dancer, which we usually use gender to do that, you have just crossed the barrier, and you have to do that consciously. Last year we were talking about the left-hand dancer or the right-hand dancer, and you can say righties do this and lefties do this. Some of the genderless dancing. Be aware that when you cross that boundary where you have a couple and the right-hand person is doing something different than the left-hand person, you've crossed into a realm of choreography opportunity, but also into a realm of complexity, because you've just made it more complex. How you deliver it, how you use it, is really, really important. You can say all the righties star right. They'll do it. With your partner, star left. Everybody face in. You've just done an all 4 ladies chain 4 quarters and you're back home. You've been successful. You've entertained them in a way, in terminology that they can use. I think, Mike addressed a lot of the things about how you organize, and they're totally important. And there's a DVD that the CALLERLAB office has that goes through that whole scenario of things, and it's really a pretty good one. I have to be a little humble at it. I was part of the scenario, and Cal made it work. But it's the things, and it's a really, really good DVD to answer those questions that Mike was referring to about the organizer and all of that. Well, once you sit down and say, okay, what can I present? Well, I know how to do simple first night square dancing. If you're a square dance caller, the biggest thing I see in the room like this is people going, oh, I can really do a square dance for people who have been taught. But I'm scared to death about doing something for this group that I know nothing.
All right. So when I looked at this, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to have callers in front of me, square dance callers. You guys are all comfortable calling square dances, correct? So you're faced with a dance party, and I'm kind of on the same page that Bob's on. I've looked out there. Okay, I might not start here, but this is a place you can start. So you get to the point where you want small circles, and really what you want is squares. That was your original intent, but you don't get them. You get some squares of 4 couples, but you also get a couple of small circles that have maybe 3 or maybe 5 couples in them, and I'm worried about the case where I can't fix that. So if I had a 5 and a 3, I'd ask somebody to move from one to the other. But if I've got 3 squares of 4 and 1 square of 5, and that's it, that's all the dancers I've got to work with, I'm not going to ask somebody to go and sit down. And they're looking up at you, oh, this will be fine, won't it? And I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this fine? So what I've addressed on this piece of paper is, I'd much rather think about this ahead of time and not on the fly. So if you look at this, I've named it polygonal singing calls. So if you are suddenly faced with this situation in front of you, what tools do you already have but might not be able to think about fast enough under those conditions that would allow you to call to this situation with some ordinary 4 couple squares and a couple of them that are 5 couples? And Bob's already mentioned some of the things that you can do, and certainly I quite agree. So, for instance, he already has given you the one that I've labeled through the garden gate. That's everyone hold on. Actually, I'm having them hold on. He had them not hold on. But the first couple go down the center. The traditional call would have been split 2, go around the outside. However, as he said, you got 5 couples. So where do they go through? Or even if they've got 4, do you really care if they go straight across? No. It doesn't matter. But you have to get your mind around the fact that it doesn't matter and that I can use this and be flexible about what I'm expecting to happen and not get hot and bothered by the fact that, oh, well, they didn't go right between couple number 3. That's not a big issue. And as long as we're talking about that, so another variation is everybody's holding on when you do this. First couple goes down the middle and they're trailing along with the people that are their side couples, and after they go through, the first couple let go of each other and go around the outside, pulling everybody else through that hole. And the very last 2 people have to do a dish rag kind of turn to get themselves facing in. So what I've got on this page are a whole series of examples of things that I've used at one time or another and can be used under these conditions. So let's move back up to the top. So I have this lovely French 8 figure that came to me initially because I call in Nova Scotia. We were looking for traditional dancing before our national convention in 2010, and I was designing a historical dance sequence. And the folks in the French part of Nova Scotia, and yes, there is one, even though they were sent to Louisiana. A lot of them managed to come back again. So, yes, we do have a French part of Nova Scotia. And this is a dance they've done for years. And this is such a simple and neat idea. Couple number 1, go across 4 steps, pick up couple number 3, bring them in, so couple number 1 is backing up 4 steps. Push them back to where they came from 4 steps, let go and leave them there, and back out at home. Works beautifully with the music. Really simple concept for people that know very little to do. No gender issues involved here. And then number 2 can do the same thing. Go across, pick up 4, bring them in, push them back, come home. And 3 can do it, and 4 can do it. All right, this is your plan. But you've got a 5 over there. How do we accommodate the fact that we've got a 5? Well, go across and pick up somebody. 2 people. Bring them in. Push them back. Come home. Does it really matter whether you get couple 3 or you get some other combination? You do have to do it an extra time because you've got to get. So you can say couple number 5 and everywhere else it's designate whatever, whatever pops into your head is a good thing to choose. So that's the kind of thing. You have a concept and then you ask yourself, how can I broaden it out to deal with this? And you will find that situation.
Just to note, yesterday afternoon, Lynn Webster did uptown, downtown,
which is the
all
same
around
kind
the
of
town.
thing.
It's the same kind of thing. It's the sequence. So there's a different, these came from different.
Yeah, but you'll
parts
notice
of
that
the country.
uptown is the next one on here.
Yeah, okay.
So, slight variation on the same idea. First couple go uptown, which is the same deal. Go across, bring the couple across down, back uptown you go. But instead of just leaving them there, this time the couple that they picked up, so it would be number 3, arch, and the first couple dives through, and then they separate around the outside and get back to the home position. So that's a variation on the same idea. A little bit more complex, but not very much. So same situation. Ones go across, bring any couple down, push them back up. There's your, I've got a fix for this problem. So now it's not a problem. And I want to point out that these say singing calls. These things are more or less designed so that they will fit into your 64 beats of whatever singing call figure you're comfortable with. Also, although a lot of the things we do in community dance world, particularly contours and mixers, we are prompting ahead of the music. You do not have to prompt these ahead of the music. You can treat them like you would treat a singing call, and it'll work fine. So I'm trying to reach into your comfort zone and say, okay, how can I expand my comfort zone just a little bit to accommodate the kinds of situations you might find at a community dance or a one-night party. Okay? So we've looked at through the garden gate. He already talked about this one. Heads go forward and back and circle to the left. Sides go forward and back. Well, how do you modify that? Even numbers go forward and back. Odd numbers go forward and back. Same concept. And likewise, you can do that with right-hand stars and left-hand stars for the heads, for the sides, for the odds, for the evens. Star one way, star both ways, whatever. Just make sure you give them enough time if they're going around and coming back where they started from. Use promenades. Play with promenades. Single file promenade in the inside. Single file promenade the other way, wrong way, or if we're good with left and rights. How about, okay, so I'm trying to think, another thing that I'm often faced with is, and if you look at this, you'll realize that I haven't done anything here that talks about right person and left person. Because, why? Why because? Why am I doing that or not doing that? What do you think? Because I often find myself with 2 ladies dancing together or 2 men dancing together or whatever happens to be the case. And it's my experience that I mentally said to myself many years back, okay, why do I need to do ladies' chains? Why do I need to do right and left through? Why can't I think about choreography that does not require those calls that specify a right person and a left person do something? Can't we create some simple choreography that doesn't do that? And that's where this stuff has come from. So, for instance, here we have at the bottom, inside promenade. So it starts with forward and back, right shoulder, do-sa-do, and a little bit more. So that puts what would normally be the man into the middle. Okay? But I am calling him a man. I'm just saying do that do-sa-do and a little bit more. Those inside promenade once around. Okay, it's clear who we're talking about. Turn your partner by the right. And you would have had to teach promenade before this, but so somebody pointed out earlier, you don't want to do promenade. Get home and circle one way or the other all the way around, and that'll do your singing call just as well as a promenade would. So you don't really even have to figure out how to tell them counterclockwise, which is getting tougher these days. All right. On the back, so those were all kind of square concepts that have been expanded to be possible to do with maybe not just 4 couples, maybe 5 couples. On the back, the first 2 are little mixer kinds of things. So if it is appropriate, and you have to ask yourself this question, if it is appropriate for the group you're calling to actually have them change partners, here are a couple of possible change partners things, and you'll see it says mixer or not. So you have the option. You will have to decide whether you want to have them actually change partners or not. So let's ask the question, when would you not want to change partners? Yes, father and daughter for sure. When else might you not want to change partners? Bride and groom, okay. Might not want to change partners if you had, people that were comfortable and didn't really know the other people in the square. You're at a wedding and they've come from, left side of the country, right side of the country, whatever, and you don't want to force them to intermix. On the other case, sometimes the bride and groom will ask for this kind of a dance because they do want their guests to intermix. So that's a question. Father-daughter, but you can also have the other case, mother and son. I have had mother and son come to a contra dance. Bless his heart, he was only about first grade, second grade, but he was so eager to dance. And when I got to the contra dance where I had this man's in the lead, he just was having a ball. He loved it. So yeah, but I kept him with his mom. I never separated them. They were always together. So there's cases where you don't want to split up people, but you make that decision. So here's a dance. This one I originally wrote to go with a smile medley, but feel free, whatever singing calls you're happy with. This is a simple thing. Circle to the left for 16 beats of music. Circle to the right for 16 beats. If you want to sing the lyrics for the song, if you would normally do grand square, this is what you do. Circle to the left for 16, sneak in that circle to the right in there, and then keep singing. And there's your grand square time. Forward and back. Turn your corner by the left. With your partner do-si-do. And if you want to make it a mixer, pass by to the next one and promenade. If you don't want to make a mixer, just promenade. That's as simple as it goes. And another one here, which I've called 3 turns mixer. Forward and back, turn your corner by the left, turn your partner by the right, turn your corner by the left. Does this sound familiar? With your partner, do-si-do, and pass and go on to the next. And we do that all the time in modern square dancing. That's such a common figure. You have it in your vocabulary. Fill is needed if you need to stick an extra forward and back because they've got the figure completed early and you want to get back on time with your singing call. Adjust. Sneak in the extra forward and back that you need. Then I have 2 mixers which are not a no mixer option. Okay? The first one, mind you, is going to take you back to your partner. So it would only be a mixer if you found yourself in a big circle where you had more people. So these, if you were in a square, would take you home. But if you're not in a square, now we can go to a bigger circle. We can go to 6 couples or 8 couples or 20 couples for that matter. And you can do these kinds of figures. And I really like to use big circles when I'm starting one of these things. So I would put everybody in a big circle. And the first time I probably would not use as many calls as are in this. Could be even simpler. Circle to the left, circle to the right, forward and back. And then you are asking yourselves, okay, how much longer do I want to have these folks on the floor? Are they listening to me, or is this about as much as I'm going to get successfully? You have to make those decisions. And you do that on the fly, seeing how the things are going. And you might, especially if you have foreign language students or whatever, and I call for these groups too, if that's about as much as they can absorb in one time, that's fine. And if you've been doing it kind of as patter, then you can say, okay, we're going to put on a singing call. Use your singing call and just use whatever simple stuff you've introduced. But I'm always focused on minimize the teaching and maximize the dancing. I want them to feel like they're dancing and as quickly as I can get them to that point. All right. At the bottom here, there are 2 Sicilian circles at the very bottom, and there are 2 contra things. So how many of you ever use contras? only a few. So Bob already talked about those kinds of things and some trio things. If you want to stretch your abilities a little bit more, here are two contras that are quite simple. Now, first one is very simple. So the idea is we make contra lines. Everybody finds a partner. Again, I do not care whether I have two girls, two boys, or a couple. They stand in opposing lines with partners facing each other across the lines. And for those of you who are at the beginner the community dance leaders thing, we did this the other day. We'd start with a long line, all down one side, all down the other side. Everybody holds hands, and we circle to the left. And it's a long, skinny circle. It's called a long potato, where this dance came from. 16 beats, and 16 beats back. Now, if you have a really long line, you might have to do less because it'll take the couple at the end that's going to go down the middle more time to get there. So you have to judge that. And when you finish the circle and you're back facing your partner again, turn your partner by the left. You can use arm or elbow or pigeon wing, whatever suits you for the situation. Turn your partner by the right, go forward and back. And then the top couple, strut, sachet, gallop, whatever's appropriate for the flooring and the energy level of the people there, to the foot, and you start it again. Now that's meant to be prompted. Do you know what we mean by prompting? Does everybody have some idea what we're talking about prompting? So it's meant to be that you're giving the command to remind them just before the first phrase of the music. And if you don't already know how to do this, you will need to practice a bit. This is a skill that has to be learned. It's not really that hard. You have to be aware. And I don't think we have time to do that at the moment. But those are meant to be prompted. Yeah. So there's another one that's done from couples facing couples. Also simple. The directions are there. And the last two on here are quite simple, meant to be for Sicilian circles. So that's couple facing couple in a great big circle all around the hall. First one you'll notice, Ed Durlacher, very well-known early square dance, modern square dance caller. This came out of a book with the printing time of 1949. And we are still doing versions of this dance. So again, those two are meant to be prompted. So that's a little bit of place to go if you want to stretch your abilities.
All right. I think we have just about enough time for a couple of questions. We're actually right at the time I think we were supposed to end. So do we have some questions from the floor? We are being taped, so
check,
please.
1, 2.
I'm Alan Hahn from Heston, Kansas. Was asked to do a rehearsal dinner, and they wanted a square or more of our dancers, it was the club they were addressing, to come out and do a demo ahead of the, or as part of the thing, and then break up and do some teaching from there. And I was just wondering, I shot them a figure for a fee, but I wanted to include some compensation for the dancers that were coming out. Was that an appropriate thing to do?
I would say that it's really up to your situation as to what the fees are from my perspective. First of all, we as square dance callers typically undercharge these parties. They have money. Otto Wortman and so on, he says he starts at $400 and goes up. So those of you who are thinking about $100 as being a good night, recognize I don't start at $400, but I'm not far behind him. The key is that we recognize that these folks that are putting on an event are putting it on for a larger group, and they are by definition a group that is saying, okay, I understand the value of what I'm asking for. If they were to hire a band, they would pay more than you probably will ask. Is it appropriate for you to compensate the dancers or provide some money to compensate the dancers? I think that really depends on the situation. I have done both in my past. I think the organizers tend to say, well, they want dancers because supposedly they know how, and that's both a challenge and a benefit. I'll let Dottie address it.
I get the same kinds of questions, and they often ask for dancers, and it's becoming increasingly difficult to get people to such things. So my first response to that kind of request is, well, do you have a group that wants to learn to dance? And if they say yes, that's their underlying goal, that they want to be dancing. I'll say we don't need to have demonstration dancers. I'll have you dancing in very short order, and I don't need the demonstration dancers involved. So I will tend to encourage them to go that route. It's simpler for everybody involved because it's really hard to get enough people there these days.
One other thing there are groups that want entertainment. They'll pay for entertainment. They're not paying for a party. They're paying for entertainment. That's a different kind of forum, and yes, charge them too.
One of the things that I've had success with that is asking them to feed my dancers at the rehearsal dinner.
Anybody else? Barry
McCombs, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I wonder what your comments are. You mentioned earlier, Mike, about having a DJ there or having a band there. I have limited experience, but I've been a demo dancer when the band or whatever other entertainment on is crowding you on both sides on your time, if you have any suggestions for handling that.
Generally, I try to make sure that I'm ready to go as soon as they stop, that there's no break, and fit it in between. If you know ahead of time they're going to be there, then that's part of your negotiation with whoever contacts you to determine that, look, I need this much time to at least get people on the floor, get them moving. The band's not going to take a 2 or 3 minute break. It's going to be a 10 or 15 minute break, to get these people out there and get them dancing a little bit. But have your equipment set up, ready to go. One of the things I'm leery about is tapping into anybody else's sound system. A lot of times they'll want me to, we'll get this amplifier here, we'll use this. It's like, no, I'll set my equipment up because I'm comfortable with that. I've heard too many horror stories and seen too many times where people plug into something else and their computer's gone, their amplifier's gone, whatever. So I make sure that my system is set up ready to go.
One of the key questions to ask is there anything else going on any other activities going on while in this environment? I have been in an environment where around the edge of the room there's face painting, there's a jump house, there's this, and there's square dancing. Guess what? Every tip is a first tip.
Paul Hensey, Tennessee. I found with DJs, I'll go over and give my card to him or a whole bunch of cards and tell him what my intentions are that evening and just say, you tell me what block you can work and what block I'll work. And would you announce, please, as you end, please everybody go over to the square dancing, and then vice versa. I found also by giving him those cards is that he knows people that want square dance bookings, and he'll pass those cards on to somebody, and he'll give it up to us real quickly. Can you tell me what Sasha, what music that is, what label, et cetera, so that we can use? Well, can you find out maybe later and announce it? And there's one more thing. There's one more that I use. It's called Tudita.
Yes.
And it's cute. It's really fun, even for the young ones, too.
Dr. Gene.
Yeah.
The only recording I know about Sasha you can still get is by New England Dance Masters, and it's on a CD. You'll have to go to their website, and there are, I think, 2 CDs that have it. What? Nope, you can't. Well, I just recently contacted them, and they pulled it. And so you now have to buy it on a CD. It was being given away. But I talked to him about it. I called him up and I says, why did you pull it off? And I got this strange story, but you have to buy it now on a CD. Now, since they have provided it, they really can't do that.
So that was New England Dance Masters. Correct?
New England Dance Masters.
Okay.
Okay.
There are other sources, and for instance, there's a woman in Canada named Marion Rose that has a Step Lively series, and one of those series is for schools and families or something like that. There's also a Canadian one, and there's a third one, but one of those series has, this is a book as well as a CD, and one of those has a version of Sasha in it as well. So you might find it as part of a package. I gather that Lloyd Shaw does not have it.
No. The only other copy that was there was... No. The only other copy that we knew of was John Campbell. School had a copy of it. Well, it's no longer produced.
So there's a bunch of dances in this genre. Mike uses Sasha. There's a bunch of other dances that are available through the Lloyd Shaw Foundation site for children's dances. And recognizing that when you're working with children of varying ages, there's a set of material. There's not tons of it, but there's plenty enough to entertain kids. So we're about out of time. Actually, we are out of time, and it's lunchtime, so the stomachs are probably rumbling. I want to thank Mike Olivieri from North Glen, Colorado, and Dottie Welch from Nova Scotia, and have a great rest of your convention. Thank you.